Imagine you're trapped in a frozen mountain wilderness, buried under 22 feet of snow, with no food, no rescue coming, and winter stretching endlessly before you. Now imagine you're surrounded by the bodies of your friends and neighbors. What would you do to survive? Would you cross the line that separates civilization from savagery? In the winter of 1846, 87 ordinary American families faced exactly this nightmare. What they did to survive became one of the most horrifying stories in American history. This is the true story of the Donner Party, where the American dream froze into an unspeakable nightmare. Picture this. It's spring 1846, and westward expansion fever is sweeping America. You're a prosperous middle-class family with everything to lose. But California is calling with promises of fertile land, perfect weather, and unlimited opportunity. The Donner and Reed families weren't desperate refugees. George Donner was a 62-year-old successful farmer, traveling with his schoolteacher wife Tamsin and 5 daughters. James Reed was a furniture manufacturer with a comfortable life in Illinois. These families had money, supplies, and detailed plans. The journey should take 4 months. They'd arrive in California by early autumn, well before winter. Everything seemed perfectly calculated and reasonable. But then they discovered a book that promised something irresistible, a shortcut. Here's where everything goes wrong. Lansford Hastings, a lawyer and land promoter, published a guide claiming he'd found a shortcut that would save 350 miles. Sounds amazing, right? There's just one terrifying problem. Hastings had never actually traveled this route with wagons. He'd crossed it once on horseback and completely underestimated its difficulty. Now, imagine you're at Fort Bridger in Wyoming, facing a critical choice. Most wagon trains are taking the proven trail, but James Reed, convinced of his own judgment, persuades your group to take the untested shortcut. Several families refuse and stick with the main route. You'll soon wish you'd joined them. When you reach the cutoff point, Hastings isn't there. Just a note pinned to a branch saying he's gone ahead with another group. You're on your own. The shortcut becomes a living hell. Imagine hacking through dense wilderness in the Wasatch Mountains, moving just 1.5 miles per day. Your wagons are breaking. Your oxen are dying. Everyone's tempers are exploding. Then on October 5th, violence erupts. After an argument, John Snyder strikes James Reed with a whip handle. Reed stabs him in self-defense. Snyder dies, and your group holds a hasty trial. Despite his claims of self-defense, Reed is banished, sent ahead alone without weapons, food, or his family. His wife and children watch him disappear into the wilderness. Next comes the Salt Flats, 80 vials of blinding white nothing that Hastings promised you could cross in 2 days. It takes 6. Water vanishes. Salt dust chokes everything. Wagons sink and must be abandoned. Families lose everything they carried from home. By late October, you finally reach the Sierra Nevada foothills. You're exhausted, running dangerously low on supplies, and weeks behind schedule. You should already be in California. Instead, you're about to climb into mountains just as snow begins falling. On October 31st, 1846, your party starts ascending. Light snow is falling, but you push forward, desperate to cross the summit. Then the storm hits. Not just snow, but a blizzard that buries the mountain passes. You try to push through, but the snow is too deep. The passes blocked. You're forced to turn back and make camp near what's now called Donner Lake. You think you'll wait out the storm and cross in a few days, but the snow doesn't stop. It keeps falling and falling and falling. You're trapped. Now imagine what happens next. The snow doesn't stop for weeks. It buries your camp under 22 feet. You're trapped with 87 people, including dozens of children. You build crude shelters barely above the snow line. Your food supplies dwindle rapidly. November passes. December arrives. You're eating boiled ox hides and bones. You're melting snow for water. The cold is unbearable. People start dying. First the elderly, then the weak, then the children. You watch your neighbors, your friends, your own family members slowly starve. Rescue isn't coming because nobody knows you're trapped. You took the shortcut nobody else used. By mid-December, 15 people attempt to escape on makeshift snowshoes. They call themselves the Forlorn Hope. What happens to them on their 33-day journey will define the Donner Party's legacy forever. Here's what will haunt you forever. The Forlorn Hope runs out of food within days. They're lost in an endless white wilderness. People are dying. And then someone makes the unspeakable suggestion. What would you do? Would you die with your morals intact? Or would you do whatever it takes to survive? The Forlorn Hope made their choice. They survived by consuming the flesh of those who died. Back at the camps, the same impossible decision faces the remaining survivors. January becomes February. February becomes March. The snow shows no sign of melting. More people die every week. The living face the same horrifying choice: cross the line or die. Some refused and starved. Others did what they had to do. Imagine living with that decision for the rest of your life. Rescue finally came in February and March of 1847, when multiple relief parties reached the camps. Of the 87 people trapped, only 48 survived. George Donner died in the mountains. His wife Tamsin refused rescue to stay with him and perished. James Reed, who'd been banished, had reached California, organized a rescue party, and returned to save his family. The survivors were sworn to secrecy about what they'd done to survive, but the truth eventually emerged. They were vilified, pitied, and forever marked by their ordeal. The Donner Party's tragedy reminds us how quickly civilization's thin veneer can crack when survival is at stake. It asks an uncomfortable question that echoes through history. What would you do? How far would you go? Where is your line? The Donner Party found theirs in the frozen Sierra Nevada, where the American dream became an unspeakable nightmare.